Namaste. My name is Tim Halloran. I'm an astrologer from Savannah, Georgia. This is a weekly astrological forecast. You can learn more information at my website below at www.rasalilahealing.com. We are offering a sale for the next 2 weeks for a free transit reading. That's the astrological weather for the upcoming year, free with every birth chart reading for the next 2 weeks. Okay, and this is partially to commemorate Saturn's transit through Scorpio, which begins this week and takes us through the remainder of summer. So things are getting real, things are getting deep. We're really starting to see things this week. The last couple weeks have been rather uncertain, all over the place, wishy-washy. We've been in Mercury retrograde for over 2 weeks. We also had the full moon last week, square to Neptune. There's been a lot of indecisiveness, uncertainty, miscommunication, troubles conveying our thoughts and these types of things. This week things can turn around. Yeah, this week things can get real, apparent, and direct. So this morning the moon moved into Pisces. On Wednesday the moon will move into Aries. Thursday Mercury turns direct. Friday Neptune turns retrograde. And Sunday, Saturn moving retrograde moves back into the sign of Scorpio and will remain there through mid-September. Okay, so there's a lot of layers that we have to get to this week. There is considerable depth. There is considerable potency that we're dealing with beneath the surface. So I'm going to try and stick with the formula of starting with what's the most mundane kind of surface level energy, and then we'll get deeper into the underlying stories, the collective consciousness, the evolutionary intent that's going on this week. So what we have going on this week is the Sun catching up to Mars in the sign of Gemini. Mars and the Sun in Gemini conjunct is this restless, active, creative doing force. Now this Sun and Mars being conjunct is also going to form sextile to Uranus, which is in a trine to Jupiter. And this is going to increase the creative emphasis, the desire to get going, the confidence, the energy, the pushiness, the drive to create, to bring things to a new level, to invent, to explore, to grow, to start implementing new ideologies, to start implementing new ways of doing things, new ways of communicating, new ways of putting ourselves out there. So this is the surface level where we find ourselves this week, is there is this boost of energy, of confidence, and we want to get stuff done. Mercury turning direct around the same time that Neptune turns retrograde. There can be this lifting of the veil of the smoke screens, of the confusion that can be experienced during a Mercury retrograde, and this Mercury retrograde has been in Gemini these last weeks. And this has been bringing to light a theme of miscommunication, which reveals to us our own mental, verbal, language, dynamic of processing, breaking apart, and understanding, and how this can be limited. This can be limiting us reaching other people. This can be limiting our creative process, our desire to move forward and grow. And this has the propensity to change. There can be turnarounds this week. There can be realizations. This week can indeed be the week where the other shoe drops. And I think what determines how harshly this other shoe dropping is going to be experienced by us has to do with how deep and understanding and comprehensive of some of these deeper underlying themes that we are simultaneously progressing through at this time. Because this Mars and Sun, although being sextile to Uranus in trine to Jupiter, and this Uranus trine to Jupiter, which is forming all this week, is this very progressive, expansive, let's do things differently, let's take a different approach, let's evolve. And this is also this confidence to take things in this direction, to embody our most unique, eccentric flavor, to make real our individual desires, is really what the goal of this Martian, solar, Jupiter and Uranus progressive, expansive energy is all about. Pushing things forward. However, there are challenges. There are more layers to the picture. And what therefore determines our capability to move through this week without getting so taken aback, unpleasant surprises, the other shoe dropping, is how aware we are of these underlying levels. Because, Sun-Mars, sextile to trine, Jupiter-Uranus, it's like we can want to get this stuff done now. We can really be sort of restless and a little bit impatient and have all this energy, and let's just get the creative project rolling. Let's just network with the people we want to network. If we want to form new relationships, if we want to rekindle relationships with other people, let's get this stuff over with. Let's reestablish, let's reintegrate. Yes, and we want to do this stuff now. And yet it cannot always happen so simply, because there is deeper underlying missing pieces. And this is the week where this can become apparent. This is the week where the confusion and the uncertainty of the past couple weeks can become crystal clear. And now we can see blatantly how things are working for us, or there can be missing pieces. There can be unexpected levels that we did not anticipate that are now being exposed, now being brought to the surface. Because this Sun-Mars is not just sextile to Uranus and Jupiter, it's also forming a T-square between Chiron opposite to Black Moon Lilith. And this Chiron opposite Black Moon Lilith, long-term transit that's taking us through this month and the next month, really has to do with a deeper underlying theme. And indeed, Chiron has to do with our personal wounds. Lilith has to do with our personal repressions and suppressions. And this does have to do with the last age and how we are healing this age within ourselves as individuals, within the collective, as nations, as groups, and how this is healing an outstanding long-term human history that creates for us these deeper missing pieces that can make things a little bit more complicated. There is a little bit of this tendency to kind of fight. Yes, when we get our wounds poked at, there is a tendency to react. And I also have noticed that the people who tend to be the most vicious, attacking, blaspheming, belittling, these people that express in that way typically are the most wounded people that are always being triggered and always having their wounds pushed upon. And maybe they don't do anything to heal it. I'm not justifying that type of reaction. But when our wounds come out, there can be this tug of war, there can be this chemical reaction that can happen. And it's not really anybody's fault, because what we are reacting, what we are experiencing are ancient wounds coming out of a collective history where all souls have been wounded, all souls have been repressed. We need to understand that this is the depth that needs to be looked at. And we are looking at it this week, and that is very, very good. Because if we want real creation, if we want real authentic progress and expansion and moving forward, we must take a look at this stuff. In which case, this week actually has a lot of creative potential. Wherever there is friction, wherever there is tension, there is the potential to move forward. So what this means is we have to be real, and yet we have to be slow, we have to be forgiving, we have to be gentle. That way we're not overreacting and we end up hurting people that we love. And we overreact and we vomit all over our friends and our family, because it's our friends and our family. It's the conversations. It's us reaching out for help, and maybe we don't always get it. Maybe we don't always get collaboration the way we want. Maybe we don't always get support the way we want it. Okay, and these wounds are coming out of a patriarchal age. Why we don't get the support, why we don't get the support from our parents, from our family, from society. Why do we always feel like we're on our own and we take everything so personally and we're so hypersensitive? Has to do with this old age where culture got really kind of disbalanced and distorted and deranged. So Black Moon Lilith in Virgo can have this tendency to really take things personally and be hypersensitive of our own failures, of our own insufficiencies, of our own imperfections. And that is also acting as a potential creative block. So what this is kind of complex and sticky. There are emotions, there are wounds that we're being dealt with, and it's like we don't always want to go there. For example, if we're trying to, reach out to the support of our parents in some creative endeavor, And maybe they're not on the exact same page of us. This is going to be going back in time, talking about a childhood wound. And typically our childhood wounds, these wounds that are redundant stories that get told again and again and again, are reflections of our past lives and are a means for us to sort of start off where we last left off and pick up these wounds and heal them, see what is there. In which case we may want to repair, we may want to mend separation where it has happened, where friendships and relationships might have gone awry, where there is a lack of intimacy, where there is a lack of trust, where there is a lack of support. We can feel these things, and it can hurt us, and it can cause us to feel closed up, and now I can't move forward, now I can't enact my willpower, now I can't enact my creativity the way I want to. And then Black Moon Lilith can take it very, very personally, like, oh, I shouldn't have gone there. I shouldn't have tried to make this new endeavor. Yeah, it's because of my own imperfections and all this. And no, we need to keep in balance the Chiron Lilith this week with this T-square, because on one hand, we need to listen to these wounds, and we need to, you know, dig it up and look at it and study it and share it with these people. If it is a wound that was experienced with a particular person, it is the time to communicate. It is the time to address these things. So long as we're not viciously attacking them, because this can be the case where it can be wounded soul pitted against wounded soul, and it can get a little vicious. People can get frustrated. People can get upset. And so we need to take things slow. We need to be cool. We need to breathe big. And we need to make sure that we're addressing these things, and no, it's not all your fault. It's not just you communicating bad, or you, oh, I open up too much, I shouldn't have said that, it's too dramatic, it's too personal, and all these things. No, we need to address imperfections, not sweep them under the rug. And we also need to not take imperfections overly personally, as if we're supposed to be creative, perfect, divine beings, instead of being the beings that come here at this particular time to confront and work through this stuff. That's why we came here. So the analogy is, you know, the New Age movement. Oh my gosh, so much creative possibilities and potential. And I'm going to be an artist, and I'm going to move off into the woods, and I'm going to just start painting barn doors, and I'm going to start speaking the New Age language, and everybody's a soul, all is love, and all this stuff. And yes, that's very, very, very wonderful. But we didn't come here to escape the stuff that we need to confront and just run off into some hippie commune. Because that is an avoidance of your own stuff as well. I mean, we all have our connection to this deeper collective history. And we can't simply escape to the hippie commune and expect this world to be truly benefited in any way, because that's a subtle escapism. So I don't think the hippie commune and the, you know, the conscious living and anything like that is necessarily wrong, so long as you are doing it in an actually authentically progressive way, which means that we're looking at the world where it is now, and I'm finding ways that I can actually benefit other people. I am creating, I am brainstorming, I am broadcasting the information that is going to help other people be less depressed, be less stuck. That's what we need to do. We can't simply be just like, I'm going to do all this stuff and everything's going to be perfect. I'm going to manifest the perfect situation and just go for it without dealing with the deeper issues. Okay, so this is a week to get to really see it, yes? And in fact, if we look at the formation that's going on this week, not only do we have Mars conjunct Sun, sextile to Jupiter, trine to Uranus, Mars conjunct Sun in a T-square to Chiron opposite to Black Moon Lilith. If you include asteroid Pallas Athena, this trine between Jupiter and Uranus becomes a grand trine. And this T-square between Sun, Mars, Lilith, and Chiron becomes a grand kite with Pallas. Pallas Athena is very powerful this week. And Pallas Athena is another personality that I see is very relevant to the shifting between the patriarchal to the matriarchal age. Pallas Athena was originally a matriarchal goddess who was turned into a patriarchal goddess, and now she is one of the personalities who is actively pushing for the balance of masculinity and feminine energy in this world. And this is the key point this week. This is how we resolve and we move through these challenges, which can be ultimately very progressive. We can really move forward. We can really see things as they are with a crystal clarity. This Pallas Athena is going to be bringing us the conversations, which means there is no more uncertainty. There is no more hypothetical, I'm not sure what they're thinking. It is laid out. It is in front of you. It's either gonna happen or it's not. It's apparent. So in this case, Mars and the Sun are the masculine energy riding through Gemini. I got all this invention, I got all this creation, I got all these great ideas, and I want to lay it out, I want to make it happen, I want to, lay out the big show and let it all loose. And that's this masculine, and you know what? The masculine energy has been doing this for thousands of years. Brilliant idea, the Industrial Revolution, blah, 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 and it's like, let's go off and crusade and, lay it out there to everybody else the new way. And we need to really be careful not to get disbalanced this way. This is not about crusading. This is not about getting overly energetic, overly excited, overly stimulated, so it's all left brain, all what I'm going to do, all decimal places and numbers. Like, I'm going to create this project, so here are all the decimals and the numbers and the practical ways to put it together, and now I'm going to do it. And you're not going to do it if you can't incorporate the feminine side of things. Which means wherever there's people working together, there's also emotions. Wherever there's people working together and there's emotions, there's the need for safety, there's the need for nurturance, there's the need for mutual support and love of one another. And that's the other shoe dropping, is have we done that? Do you run off to the hippie commune and you actually establish that in its truest nature? What we actually need to do is heal each other's age-old wounds. Childhood wounds. We are all wounded. We are all disbalanced in different ways. If we think that we can just skip to the end and manifest the future city, the future human race, the future invention, without healing these parts inside of ourselves, we're disillusioned. It's not going to happen. We're going to run off to the hippie commune, and after so many years, all that shit's going to surface and blow up. And that's why the recommendation this week, and really through the rest of this summer, because Saturn is transiting through Scorpio. Saturn moves back this Sunday into Scorpio, and this is a reflection of the themes, of the stories, of the insecurities, of the fears that we have been moving through from 2012, the end of 2012, really to the beginning of 2015. Now we are revisiting some of these themes, and these are deep emotional themes having to do with our emotional karmic connection to other people. That gets really complicated and really deep. Just because somebody's your mom or your dad doesn't mean this is your role. Oh yes, my mom, so there's the mom role. Oh yes, my dad, so there's the dad role. There's my girlfriend, the girlfriend role. And it's a universal role that's the same with everyone. No way. These are extraordinarily complicated karmic relationships that we have been in for innumerable lifetimes. And the stories that go beneath the surface that we cannot see are beyond our comprehension. But we don't see it, we don't know it up here. The Gemini left brain Martian mind says, I'm going to run this way because this is what I see. And we don't see the deeper underlying emotional complexity and story. And this is the stuff that needs to be resolved. This is where the healing needs to happen. Great, we have really developed left brains and we can lay it out there and we can create and we can do things by the book, and it's like paint by number and it's all going to become beautiful one day. It's not like that. This is not a paint by number rational, I'll go from one color to the next and then eventually I'll be a perfect artist. This is not authentic creativity. It's not paint by number. Authentic creativity is being in connection with your core. And being in connection with your core, your intuition, your left brain, your rational right brain, left brain, feminine, masculine, emotional and physical and mental can all work together harmoniously. And the point is, we do not come from a culture, from a tradition, from an upbringing that truly teaches us to actualize this true, authentic creativity. Therefore, we are now seeing, apparently, very apparently, this is the other shoe dropping, we see what we need to do in order to resolve this. This is the fortune of having Pallas Athena, completing this grand trine with Jupiter and Uranus. We can really see, and guess what? We really can make progress. We really can move things forward. We can have these conversations that are groundbreaking, that change the relationship from this point on. We can have the realizations in terms of physical, financial, relationship. The other shoe can drop, and this can be profound realization. So there is a lot of productive energy going on with this. And if we can resolve this grand kite formation and integrate the fact that our wounds is not something we need to put to the side, it's also not something that we need to, I can't handle feeling pain and now I'm enraged and I'm lashing out on everybody. We need a balance between that. And we need a balance between Sun, Mars, and Gemini, the left brain, the creative endeavor. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. It's busy, 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 restless, restless. I got so many things to do. I'm so excited. I certainly have the willpower. I certainly have the energy. And yet, do we have the real, authentic, creative sight? That means we're seeing not just the paint by number. We're seeing the bigger picture here. And there can be some creative blockages that we are resolving, therefore, having to do with our own identity and our willpower of who we think we are and what we're capable of doing. May need to have some greater, sight added to it. Pallas Athena is ultimately the bridge between the masculine and the feminine. She is this fully embodying both. She is a warrior goddess of wisdom. She is responsible for inventing the fundamental inventions of man, the plow, the axe, yes, in ancient Greece legend. And she's also the god of war, incredibly masculine. And throughout the last patriarchal age, her feminine qualities have been lost and swept under. And we see this reflected in astrology, we see this reflected in every culture. She is also a goddess of compassion and truly wanting not just one side, but both sides to win. Let's not declare war unless we truly have to defend ourselves from rapists and pillagers. That's when we go to war. Let's not go to war unnecessarily. Let's try to see things from both perspectives. And of course, let's seek out this authentic creativity that Pallas Athena also is, invention and patron of the arts. Real art, real creativity is put in the service of resolving old difficulties and healing. That's what real art is. Think about this when we put this into contemporary culture. Where is art and where is music in contemporary culture? Is it healing? No. So is it real art? No. Is it real creativity? No. It's doing what is expected in order to make money the cheapest possible way. How can I put out a piece of art or a song that I know is guaranteed to make me a bunch of money? Is that creativity? No. In order to access real creativity, we need to find what real art needs to be made, what real creative endeavors need to be invested into, what real progress and growth, in what direction we can realistically take this in order to find authentic wisdom and authentic creativity. Not the partial perspective of, I'm going to see things from the paint by number, just measure things out in my mind type of way. It's actually unpractical. It's actually unrealistic. It's not seeing the whole picture. So we really need to integrate this Pallas Athena moving through Sagittarius, and she is intuition. Let's let our emotions and the little things that irk us, let's not shove anything to the side this week. If we feel inferiorities creeping up, let's express these things. Let's heal these things now. So let's bring the wounds and the inferiority complexes and the frustrations and the creative struggle. Let's bring all this stuff to the surface. Let's do it in a nice, kind of slow, not bashing each other's faces in kind of way where we understand that this is the purpose of living. This is not punishment. This is not doing anything wrong. In which case, there's a tremendous amount of creative potential and truly moving forward, truly being progressive in our relationships, in our physical living situations. I mean, things can change. The other shoe can drop. Realizations can spontaneously occur that change things from this point on. So let's make sure that we're doing Gemini. Mercury is stationed right now in trine to the North Node in Libra. We need to be having these conversations. We need to be having this show and tell. We need to be opening up and doing Venus, doing the expressing, letting the cat out of the bag, and then production moves forward. It's not necessarily how we saw it. It's not necessarily how our left brain practically rationally laid it out, because guess what? That's not how life typically works. That only works in the black and white limited framework of man-made synthetic concepts. And it's not the full picture. So when you limit yourself to, it's gonna work this way, it's gonna happen this way, it's gonna happen in this time frame, it's gonna happen with these people in this way, you are setting yourself up for another shoe dropping that's exposing the fact that there is more to the picture than simply doing it the limited, culturally expected way, which is a failure to actualize our inherent creativity. When we actualize our inherent creativity and brilliance, we're going to start looking at the world a whole lot differently. And it's going to be a lot less, let's preserve ourselves from the wars that are raging, and it's going to be more, let's invent a solution to end war. Let's invent a solution to resolve the disconnect from nature that we emotionally and mentally suffer from. Yeah, it's like, yeah, we can invent an invention to evaporate all the garbage on the planet. We're going to need to think of that one, so that's good. That's some creativity that we need. However, we also can be inventing solutions to repair and heal our emotional, mentally conditioned disconnect from nature, to reinvite our old maternal energies of softness, of openness, of flexibility, of compassion, which goes against the rigid left brain masculine. You gotta do it this way. This is our relationship. I'm your dad, I'm your mom, I'm your teacher, I'm your boss. There is one way to do it. That is old, and it's gonna go in order for us to save this planet and ourselves and heal. So let's get deep with it. Saturn's in Scorpio through mid-September. This is confronting and resolving these deeper, complicated, emotional relationship issues that were going on from 2012 to 2015, and now, in the next 3 months, we are reviewing, culminating, and completing these things. This is the opportunity for mastery. So if we can be real with the deepest stuff that's going on, this is going to determine, ultimately, how easy or difficult this next phase is going to be. And again, for the next 2 weeks, I'm offering free transit readings with natal chart readings, so we can look at this stuff. We can look at the deep, underlying, emotional, wounding stuff. That's what I prefer to look at as an astrologer, because that's the stuff that we need to actualize, heal, in order to actualize our true soul's potential, our authentic creativity, in which case we're all geniuses, we're all brilliant, we all have incredible gifts to offer to the world, so long as we're willing to dig up the emotional, complex stuff, to remove whatever inferiorities, fears, blah, 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 that was taught to us by a world that did not see the full picture. That way we can incorporate true vision, see the full picture, and invent, make progress, and create and introduce the rest of the world to what it really means to live on Earth and to be a human being. We can move things forward. So I'm wishing you all the best on this endeavor this week. I'd love to hear back from you, how some of the experiences are going on, and so much love to you and your beloveds. Namaste.